an air show and a bubble football at half time. And Genghis had a picture of himself with Jared Samet, I think, after the game. So he was too drunk to include that in his roundup of what his day was like. Proud Canadian recipient of a Super League Pod T-shirt in the last week as well.
Excellent. I've played bubble football at half time in a sporting fixture, and it's not as easy as it looks. Video does exist on YouTube if you fancy digging it out.
Shall we talk about the air show whilst it's come up?
Yeah.
That was fucking distracting, wasn't it? Like, way worse than the multicoloured lines on the pitch, because I can see white lines and then ignore the rest for the most part. So I can cope with that. I've learnt to. I've been watching Toronto games for 2 fucking years. So...
I was going to say, I used to play volleyball on volleyball courts that would have about 600 different coloured lines, and you said that's the blue line. We're playing to the blue lines, right? Play to the blue lines. Fair enough. So just go on with it.
I get that we'd rather have it differently, but that's not the reality that Toronto in the Championship are playing at. So let's embrace the reality for a while. I've not had a problem watching Toronto games, particularly this season after the pitch was relayed. I think the white lines are more prominent this year, if anything, than they were last year, and the other colours are more differentiated, I feel, from the white lines. Anyway, but that, I mean, the playing was way more distracting than any of that.
It was
making a racket.
It was blooming loud, and also the picture quality generally was a bit fuzzy, wasn't it? It was a bit.
It wasn't like HD, even though we were watching a HD channel. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit like you were watching a streaming feed, possibly from a specialist streaming provider. But yeah, so that was a bit distracting as well for me at points. I was sort of dipping in and out of it as I was watching it. But
I don't know why Braley isn't playing, but I'd say Wallace is playing really well. That's a big reason why Braley isn't getting a go.
Yeah.
And he did open the score, and you remember correctly.
Sorry, where are we? Who were we supposed to be doing?
You're doing Brian.
Yeah, so Brian Davies, really interesting game this. Toronto did enough to win, but against a better side they could have lost, having almost blown such a huge lead. How London must wish they could play from the start like they did against Widnes. Similar to the Leeds game, this was too little too late. Neither side really looked Super League quality, and it may only be down to Widnes imploding that we get a team promoted.
Well, yeah, but these teams are playing better than Widnes. So...
It's not hard.
The way the structure is, that's merit, isn't it? The way the
structure is. The resurgence of Salford, who've come back kicking, because you would have said 2 months ago, you would have said they were going to be both down together.
What the right signings at the right time do for you, though, you know.
And 7,000 fans every week as well that you've got at Salford.
No, the right signings at the right times, because Hastings coming in.
But they've got thousands of away fans that they take with them every week.
Well, they were getting a banner out for 700 away fans travelling 40 miles. I travel 40 miles to home games.
I thought it was thousands.
To be honest, I love the Salford fans that are there. So I don't want to diss them too much. It's not them. It's the people.
It's not them, is it? It's not them wherever they go at. No. It's one individual.
Yeah, because I love the Salford fans that go and watch Salford play. Paul Chamberlain said, personally, I blame it on the confusing pitch lines. That's all he said.
Exactly. God bless you, Mr. Chamberlain.
Now, I'm excited about this one, Tim, because we've not heard from this fella enough this year, so I'm delighted that he's got back in touch for one of his first few game reviews for a while. It's great to hear from him. Who was it?
Definitely is. Drum roll, please. It's Martin Simpson.
Yay.
Who says, Toronto started like a team with a point to prove. Mason Caton-Brown was a threat all game and was allowed to collect his own kick, earning Spencer a shove from Walker because he was allowed to pass untouched. I was feeling confident until London, similar to the Widnes and Leeds games, piled on the pressure. Desperation rugby. Every pass found a London player, and they were exciting to watch. Pleased with the result.
Yeah, because London in the first half were garbage to watch. They had no cohesion in their attack whatsoever. I don't know if Api Pefarangi being missing had that much of an impact, but it clearly did. It was only really when they went to popping up all over the show, kind of loose play, that it clicked, which is exciting, and it shows a group that can work together and follow the same directions and have a good time playing rugby. It's just a shame that they can't grit out long enough to stay in a game like this one from that perspective. But for the Wolfpack, I agree. Mason Caton-Brown was very threatening. I think it's great for them that they've got him on board because he's a real exciting, threatening player. And I just think they bossed everything in the first half, and the game was won at that point. Maybe they should feel a bit down on themselves for taking the foot off the gas a bit and letting London back in, but credit London for making it entertaining, because at half time I'd kind of walked away from, even though I was watching the game the next day, I still walked away from it. I could have fast forwarded. I went and did something else for 5 minutes, came back, and the scoreline looked interesting again.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly watched the second half and then went back and watched the first half. But when it was a little bit too. There was a point where London looked like they could have come back, but it was going to take a lot at that point. So a bit too little, too late, really. And again, similar to Leeds, just gave themselves too much to do.
Have you seen the photograph of Richard Whiting's head?
Yes, and unfortunately I was eating at the time, and not a good. I do not recommend it.
No. The final game of the weekend in the qualifiers was Halifax versus Salford, and Salford put on a show. I've got the wrong half-time score written down there, so I'll find out the right half-time score for me to read that out. It was 30 points to 4 to the Red Devils at half-time. It ended up 62 points to 4, even though Halifax actually were the ones who opened the scoring in this one. 2,555 were there to watch it. Tom Grant, the other new full-time referee, that's right, isn't it? He was the referee in this one. Salford were able to take off Jackson Hastings and Robert Louis for the back end of the second half, and still with Mark Flanagan, Josh Wood, halves pair, and were still able to create enough to score 2 more tries in the last 10 minutes. I've seen the tries that they scored. They were scoring from distance, they were scoring from close in, they were scoring through clever plays, they were scoring through every kind of thing, really. They just looked fast, they looked together. Ed Chamberlain looks like he's got a lot of nip and zip, and Widnes would be much better off keeping him than playing Charlie Runciman on the wing. I think we got a message to the SLP Facebook page this morning, so too late for the game reviews, from Widnes fan Gareth Sunley, who kind of made that point. I can't say enough good about Salford. I don't want to talk down on Halifax. This is where they are. They are the worst team in this group, and we all knew they were going to be the worst team in this group, and the victory for them was making the group, but for Salford, flying.
Yeah, I suppose their thing will be trying to spoil Leeds, when they'll be getting themselves up for the Leeds game and trying to do what they can to keep them playing them again next year.
Well, if they win next week, they've gone 4 out of 4. That's. I'd say you're not looking over your shoulder then, are you? So
no, I was talking from a Halifax point of view.
Oh, sorry.
So they'll be targeting the Leeds game as their game where they can do something, and that's the one where they can pounce on that fragile mental state that they'll be in at the moment and try and make something of themselves, make a name for themselves there.
Okay, do you want to take us through the qualifiers standings?
Yeah, Salford with 3 wins from 3 find themselves in that strong position at the top. Leeds, Toronto, Toulouse and KR all have 2 wins out of 3, which ain't bad. London sit 6th with a win, and Widnes and Halifax are in a bad place, down at the bottom with no points so far.
Yeah, do you think Leeds or Hull KR will end up in that £1 million game, or do you think they'll both, along with Salford, have enough to be the top 3, and then it'll be 2 of Toronto, Toulouse and London who play that £1 million game? What do you reckon?
I think I can see KR doing enough, and with the fixtures they've got, doing okay and getting into the qualifying as of right. Leeds, I'm just not sure. I think there's too many questions going around everybody's heads, and they'll just get into a mental state where they'll be questioning themselves so much where they're not sure what they can do, and
their defence has been diabolical. Let's face it.
Yeah, and teams have got they've got more footage to work with now, and they'll just be they'll be targeted because they are the scalp that they're the name and the scalp that everybody wants, and people will lift themselves to play Leeds the same way you're seeing down in League One where people are lifting themselves to play Bradford. It'll be the same thing.
Well,
so they'll have that same. Well, yeah.
I still think Leeds will be all right. If I'm honest. But we shall see. Okay, predictions, Superoo, Dream Team updates. Predictions, I went 6 out of 8, and so did Alan. So 115 plays 112 in that race. In the Superoo, Hutch stays top. I think his lead is getting whittled away though at the moment. Paul Craig is sporting the yellow cap, so well done to the funder from down under. In the Dream Team, Alan Bagley stays top of the table, of course he does. Sarah Morgans keeps up a good run of form though. She's got the weekly best score this week of 771, which is fantastic, and they've started throwing the qualifier scores, so they're not giving us the stats, but they are recording them and scoring players on them, so make sure you transfer in some players in the qualifiers to rack up your scores at this stage in the season. Okay, that is the Super 8s, well and comprehensively covered, Tim. We're now going to have a look around other results from the world of rugby league. Other results time now, sponsored by jkmartwork.com. Check out jkmartwork.com, where you'll can buy prints, canvases and more of James's stadium paintings. All the UK Super League clubs are covered, and a couple of clubs from outside Super League too. As well as that, James has football stadiums, cricket grounds and more on offer. JKM Artwork can help you find the perfect gift for the sports fan in your life. Okay, Championship Shield Round 3. Friday night, Sheffield hosted Dewsbury, but they went down 30 points to 20, with the Rams coming away with the spoils. On Sunday, potentially crucial game, we don't know yet, but maybe.
Who knows?
Swinton Lions 23, Rochdale 18. Joe Brown of the Wigan Warriors on loan scored a hat-trick in that game for Swinton. Featherstone 22, Lee 4, and we did have a review of sorts in on this one, Tim.
Yep, from Tom Andrews at Tom_HKR. Not such much a review, but an observation, Tom says. To only name 14 players at home is a joke. To get beat by these is even worse. Prime examples of why these clubs should not get votes in how Super League will work going forward. You've had 135 years or whatever it is to sort yourselves out, and you can't even do the very basic task of fielding a team. Get in the bin.
I think, strong sentiment, but I think it's fair. Both these clubs have shown that for all their aspirations and ambitions, they've been running such a garbage way that they've ended up in a position where they've dumped all the talent, and Featherstone don't even have enough players to put on a pitch. But they won, so credit to the guys that went out there, credit to that 14, because that's going to be a special win for them as individuals, but for the club it's a bad day.
And it'll be interesting to see how they end up next year and what they're left with as a show. In fact, both clubs, yeah, where they end up, I fear they will be looking down rather than looking up.
Another club where I think it's going to be interesting where they find themselves next year is Barrow, and they lost to Batley Bulldogs 36 points to 16. What are the standings looking like in the all-exciting, thrilling Championship Shield?
Yeah, Fairfield look like hosting the Shield final after their win over Lee. Batley in third are now mathematically safe. Dewsbury, I hope they played half man, half biscuit at the end. Dewsbury have 17, so theoretically safe with the possible structure change. Sheffield have 16, Barrow have 15, Swinton strengthened their hold on 7th with 10 points, and Rochdale are bottom down there on 8 points.
Into League One then, where it's round 23, so things are really heating up. Is there 3 rounds left?
4 games to go. Yeah. 3 games. Yeah.
We start with Hemel. Is that right? Hemel 13, Whitehaven 50. Have I done a typo there? Or
no, that is
a drop goal.
They did they did, because I remember laughing at it at the time, because they came in very close in the first half. Let me find the report just here. Just give me 2. Yeah, so it was. I think it was just before half It was on 40 minutes. It was just before half time, so they scored all their points in the first half.
Right, interesting stuff. Well, big win there for Whitehaven as they chase the top. North Wales 66, West Wales 0.